My name is Gail, and my Fulbright was, it's a memoir called Where There Is Pride and Belonging, A Granddaughter Discovers. The subtitle is kind of a work in progress, so I'm not completely happy with it yet. I lived in Panama City this project actually started as my MFA thesis when I was at Columbia University in New York, where I graduated in 2002. My family is Panamanian, and though I grew up in New York City, my parents came to New York in the 1950s, and I went to Panama once when I was 5, so I was like a tiny little kid, and I knew nothing. But my whole life, my parents have been talking about Panama, and I didn't really kind of get all the connections, because we were West Indian, we're Panamanian, and I didn't understand the geography of that at all, until literally, it's 1999. I mean, it's this last summer that the canal is going to be under the U.S. rule, and my entire family is on this boat going with the canal zone for a reunion. And I'm hearing everybody talk about, well, my grandfather did this, and my uncle did this, and we built this, and I finally put it together. We built the Panama Canal. So I was able to finally really understand the connection that my family had with history, and was also, because there are no coincidences, it was also 3 months before I started my MFA program at Columbia. So somebody wanted me to write this book. That is my paternal grandfather. That is Reginald McPherson Dotton. The canal was built from 1904 to 1914. The majority of the labor came from the West Indies. There were 60,000 that came from Barbados. My grandfather came over at 18 or 19 years old, and he worked from the time, through the construction, and then afterwards he was lucky to get a job for the canal. But as he was there, when the canal, and he worked at the headquarters of the canal zone, and my father was raised in the canal zone. As he was there, the most he ever earned was 63 cents an hour, because that was the most that he could make as a black worker. And he retired in 1952 after 43 years of canal life, and received a $45 a month pension, which was actually the reason why my father moved to the States. So he was my father was my grandfather's retirement fund. He died in 1969, and I was only 2, so we never met. There was a policy of Jim Crow segregation that was implanted by the U.S. when the canal was being built, which segregated everything from rates of pay to bathrooms to where your kids would go to school to everything. And it was called the gold and silver, and literally the whites were paid gold by the gold standard by American U.S. dollar, and Panamanians, I mean not Panamanians, but the West Indians were paid by the Panamanian Balboa silver. That is a shot of the canal. On the left is where the locks close up, the boat goes in, and then it fills up, which is what you see on the right, and then you sail through at sea level. It's about 50 miles long. And that picture on the bottom is me and my best friend, Marlene from London, which is one of the fantastic things about getting one of these grants, is that you go places and people want to come visit you. Sometimes you don't want those people to come visit you, but they want to anyway. So the word that I most often use to describe my Fulbright experience is transformational. I feel really anchored in my writing, my ability to call myself a writer now, and I didn't have that before. Even if I'm not getting paid for my work. Writing is how I'm centered, and as I said earlier, this project started out as my MFA thesis, and it started after I graduated in 2002. It kind of just dragged on for a while because life kept getting in the way, which is really annoying. So since I hadn't yet claimed my right to call myself a writer, and I hadn't also claimed my right to carve out time to do the writing that I wanted to do, so it was very easy for me to get distracted. And then, so this crawled along for a long time. And then kind of an amazing, magnificent, unbelievable thing happened, which is in January of 2007, I went on a date, which really does not happen. And I went on a date with this amazing Latina writer who told me that I had to do 2 things. She told me that I had to apply for a Fulbright, and then she told me I had to apply to Bona, which she also knows about Bona. And when she told me I had to apply for a Fulbright, I swear, I looked at her like she had 12 heads. Because I'm thinking, okay, Fulbrights are for like Stephen Hawking type people, like people who want to hang out with lemurs or like, microfinancing, nerds. I write, like, what the hell are you talking about? So I wasn't really here to apply for a Fulbright. And we were a couple for a while, and every 5 minutes, you need to apply for a Fulbright. What are you talking about? So I didn't apply for a Fulbright yet, but then I did apply for Vona, and Vona is this very embracing, warm, dynamic community of writers. It's Voices of Our Nations. It meets every summer for writers of color in June. And when I went there, now three different people in three different separate conversations were telling me I have to apply for a Fulbright. And one of them was actually on a Fulbright committee. So I finished with Vona. I go back home. IIE, which is the organization that manages the Fulbright, has these informational sessions, and I went to one, and I go to my first one, and I'm walking in, and I'm seeing like these Europe people. There's another. You want to hang out in Europe? You want to do microfinancing? You want to study ecology? Not me. But I asked them how writers could go, and they were really helpful. It's basically about how you word your project and personal statement, and then think of that as a general template. Because like everybody, they both said, pretty much 90% of the things that you think you're writing about, are not going to happen when you get to your country. But a lot of other really magnificent things will.